I heard the dinner knife clink against the plate before I heard my mother say it. "Daisy, you're a burden now." That was the moment I realized they didn't invite me home to talk. They invited me home to discard me. Her voice was sharp enough to slice through the steam rising off the overcooked salmon. My father sat stiffly at the head of the table in our suburban house in Boulder, Colorado, arms crossed, not even pretending to soften the blow. Then my sister, Paige, lifted her phone and hit record. "Okay, Daisy," she said with this syrupy, fake smile. "Mom and Dad have something to give you. Try to look grateful." And just like that, my humiliation had an audience. My father slid a check across the table, the paper whispering against the wood. $5,000. Then a white envelope with a printed itinerary, a one-way ticket to Sacramento, where they thought I could start fresh. I looked at the check. Then at their faces. My mother leaned forward, her bracelet tapping the table. "Honey, you failed the engineering program, your so-called startup never took off, and honestly, we can't carry you anymore." My father added, "5,000 is more than generous. Take it, go, and don't worry, we'll tell people you wanted a new beginning." I felt the camera on me. Waiting for me to break. Waiting for me to cry. Waiting for me to confirm the story they had already written about me. But instead, I smiled. Because while they thought I was broke, while they thought my AgTech startup had gone nowhere, they had no idea I had just sold it for $8.5 million 2 weeks earlier. And I hadn't told a soul. If this hits home already, tell me where you're watching from. This one's personal. Growing up, my parents never hid what they thought of me. I was the disappointment daughter, the one who didn't sparkle like Paige, the family's crown princess. Paige was the golden child, pageants, AP awards, scholarships, internships at companies whose names she barely understood. She'd walk into a room and my parents would beam like she just cured a disease. I'd walk into a room and they'd ask if I remembered to wipe my shoes. And every time I showed interest in science or tech, my mother would say, "Sweetheart, girls like us just aren't wired for that." I guess I wasn't wired right, because I kept doing it anyway. My father would remind me, "Paige will go far. You will need help." I became a quiet expert in swallowing insults. But I didn't forget them. I didn't forget my mother whispering at Thanksgiving, "Daisy shouldn't talk about engineering, she'll embarrass herself." I didn't forget my father pulling me aside before a college tour and telling me, "Choose something realistic. We can't pay for more than one failure." And I didn't forget Paige, always ready with a smirk, recording little moments where my parents compared us. She'd upload them to her private story titled "Reality Check." They all agreed on one thing. Daisy was the weak link. So when I dropped out of engineering after burning out, after juggling 3 part-time jobs and a brutal professor who said I lacked natural instinct, my parents didn't ask if I was okay. They said, "Well, what did you expect?" Paige posted a meme about not everyone being main character material. I should have broken. Instead, I started building. I didn't tell my family much about my startup, RootSense, because anytime I mentioned it, they'd ask if I was finally going to get a real job. RootSense was tiny at first, just me, an abandoned shed behind my rental duplex in Denver, and a prototype soil sensor I'd soldered by hand. I talked to local farmers, tested prototypes at 2 a.m., lived off frozen burritos, and coded until my eyes stung. When I asked my parents if I could borrow a folding table for my first farmer's market booth, Paige snorted. "You're selling dirt?" "No," I said, "soil intelligence." She whispered to Mom, "Soil intelligence? She can't even pass intro physics." Mom laughed like I wasn't standing right there. But every time someone told me I couldn't do it, something inside me sharpened. Their doubt became fuel. Then, out of nowhere, root sense caught traction. Fast. A Colorado farming cooperative signed on. A tech incubator in Denver said my idea had legs. A major agriculture firm asked for a demo. One investor flew out just to see my field tests. And 2 weeks before that awful dinner, I sold RootSense to a sustainable farming conglomerate for $8.5 million. The contract was finalized quietly. My bank account looked unreal. My lawyer told me, you can disappear for a year if you want. But first, I wanted to see how my family would treat me when they believed I had nothing. By the end of the section, I felt it again, that simmering power. And I knew I wasn't done. What happened next? It gets worse, and you'll see why I didn't tell them. The dinner started normal enough, Paige showing off pictures from her marketing job in Austin, my parents bragging about her new condo, and me sitting there like a placeholder chair. Then Mom cleared her throat. Daisy, we've been talking. Nothing good starts that way. She folded her napkin like she was writing a will. You're almost 27. You dropped out. Your startup didn't take off. And we simply can't support you anymore. Paige angled her phone to record, whispering, "This is gold." My chest tightened, but I kept my expression soft, curious, even. That bothered them. They wanted visible pain. Dad handed me the check. "This is for you to get out. Sacramento's cheaper. You can reboot your life. Maybe find a basic job. Something stable." Paige chimed in, "And maybe meet someone who can take care of you." Mom whispered, right into my ear as she hugged me for the camera, "Don't come back unless you actually accomplish something." I pulled back, smiled, and said gently, "Thank you. This is incredibly helpful." Their eyes lit with satisfaction. They thought they had broken me. But inside, I was already planning how to return their cruelty with truth, not revenge, but reality. And reality was worth $8.5 million. After dinner, things escalated fast. I wasn't even home yet when Paige added me to a group chat titled "Moving Daisy Out." Inside were messages from earlier that day. "Paige, Mom wants to film her reaction. She'll cry. Dad, let's keep it clean. No yelling. Mom, yes. We want her to feel supported, but also understand this is final." Supported? They literally bought me a one-way ticket to get rid of me. Then Paige wrote, "Imagine if she actually succeeded at that farm soil thing." Mom responded with a laughing emoji. Dad sent a thumbs up. I stared at the messages, my fingers trembling, not with sadness, but with clarity. That was the moment I understood. It wasn't that they didn't believe in me. It was that they needed me to fail. My failure kept their family hierarchy intact. I screenshotted everything. Not to expose them online. No, something better. I wanted to show them the truth privately, directly, undeniably. At a moment when they couldn't spin it, deny it, or pretend they hadn't meant it. A reckoning was coming. But not yet. Because before truth, there must be silence. Before I go further, if you're still here, make sure you're subscribed. These stories are real life for too many of us. I thought that was the end of it. But my family always finds new depths. 2 days after the dinner, Mom called me. "I talked to Aunt Jenna," she said. "We told her you're restarting. She wants to know if she should remove you from the Christmas rotation until you're stable." Christmas rotation. Like I was a defective ornament. Paige texted me separately. "Hey, just FYI, don't tell people we kicked you out." Say you wanted independence. It sounds better. Then she added. Also, can you send me a video saying thank you for the help? It fits the TikTok we're posting. They wanted a thank you video. For throwing me out. I sat in my tiny Denver rental, staring at my silent prototypes, the empty soldering station, the bare shelves where Root Sense had lived before the acquisition team packed it all into crates. I finally whispered to myself. This is the last time they underestimate me. And I meant it. But the turning point, the moment my spine straightened and my voice returned, came a few hours later. I was sitting in my car outside a Safeway parking lot, staring at the $5,000 check they thought would save my life. The ink looked smug. That's when my lawyer called. Daisy, funds finished clearing. All your accounts are active. $8.5 million. My name. No one else's. My reflection in the window looked unfamiliar, steady, calm, almost dangerous in its certainty. That was when I said it out loud. I'm done begging for approval. I wasn't angry anymore. I was resolved. My parents wanted me to leave quietly. They wanted me to fade into a manageable daughter. But I was about to walk into their lives with a truth so large it would rearrange the walls. I didn't want a screaming match. I didn't want social media drama. I didn't want to humiliate anyone publicly. No, my justice would be simple. Private. Clean. Undeniable. I RSVP'd yes, to a family brunch that weekend, Paige's idea, of course. She was celebrating her new promotion and wanted all the important people there. Perfect. I walked into a boutique on Larimer Street and bought the first dress I tried on. Paid cash. Nobody needed to know I could have bought the entire rack. Then I printed something on thick linen paper. Something official. Something with a number on it that would make their voices crack. A copy of the acquisition announcement from the client portal. Root Sense. Sold. $8.5 million. My name as CEO and founder. I put it into a soft leather folder. At brunch, all I had to do was open it. If you're still with me, this is the most intense part. And if you're watching halfway through, hit that like button so more people hear stories like this. We met at a little farmhouse-style restaurant near Louisville, Colorado, the kind with exposed wood beams and $16 omelets. Paige arrived in a white blazer like she was accepting an award. My mom fussed with her hair. My dad ordered mimosas before I even sat down. Mom leaned across the table. So, Daisy, did you book your ticket? Sacramento is perfect for people who need a fresh start. Dad added, there's no shame in simple work. Not everyone is built for success. I smiled, calm. Actually, something came up. Paige instantly grabbed her phone. Wait, can I record this? Maybe you got a job interview or something. This could be cute. Cute. Sure. I placed the leather folder on the table. 3 pairs of eyes tracked it like a predator spotting movement. Paige laughed. What's that, your new resume? No, I said softly. It's my acquisition contract. They blinked. Mom's voice thinned. Your what? I opened the folder and slid the document toward them. Root Sense. Acquisition total, $8,500,000. My father choked on his mimosa. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Paige lowered her phone slowly, like gravity suddenly doubled. I said nothing. Silence did the work for me. Paige finally squeaked, is this real? I nodded. Mom's face went pale. Why didn't you tell us? I answered with the calmest voice I've ever used. Because you only show kindness when you think I'm failing. Dad swallowed hard. Daisy, sweetheart, we didn't know. I cut him off gently. You didn't want to know. Paige whispered, but you took the $5,000 check. I did, I said. And I'm framing it. Her cheeks flushed red. Mom reached across the table, her voice trembling. We were trying to help. I tilted my head. You tried to get rid of me. The table fell silent. Every clink and whisper from other diners felt like a spotlight on them. Then Mom whispered the quiet humiliation line I will never forget. We thought you weren't going anywhere. I leaned forward. Mom. I didn't need you to believe in me. I just needed you to stop tearing me down. And with that, I stood up, placed the leather folder back into my bag, took a breath, and said, "Enjoy your brunch." I walked out. Not dramatically. Just firmly. Behind me, Paige started to cry. Mom called my name. Dad asked for the check. It was done. I didn't answer any calls for a week. They tried everything. Mom, we're so proud of you, sweetheart. Let's start fresh. Dad, we didn't mean any of it. We were stressed. Paige, can we collab on something? A story about women in tech? A story. Of course. Then came the guilt messages. Mom, families fight. Don't let money divide us. Paige, you're being sensitive. Dad, you owe it to us to talk. Oh. That word sealed the door shut. I owed them nothing. Eventually, they stopped messaging and started emailing. Then calling my lawyer, he blocked their number. Then reaching out to old friends of mine. Everyone said the same thing. They didn't know you'd actually make it. So, they only cared about the image of success. Not me. With the acquisition money, I bought a small house near Fort Collins, close to open fields and bright air, the kind of place I used to dream about when soldering prototypes at 3 a.m. I built a garden out back. Tomatoes. Basil. Peppers. Nothing smart. Nothing optimized. Just life growing without judgment. I framed the $5,000 check on my office wall next to the signed acquisition page. A reminder. I didn't succeed to spite them. I succeeded because I stopped believing their version of me. Every month or so, Paige sends a soft, polite text. Mom sends links to articles about forgiveness. Dad sends Bible verses he thinks apply. But I still haven't gone back. Not because I'm angry. Because I'm peaceful. And peace is expensive. But I paid for it myself. Here's the thing no one tells you. Sometimes the people who should believe in you the most simply can't imagine you succeeding without them. Your growth exposes their limits. Not yours. My family didn't break me, they revealed me. They forced me to build a life outside their shadows. And if you're listening and this hit something deep, you're not alone. You're not a disappointment. You're not a burden. You're not defined by the people who refuse to see your worth. Sometimes disappearing is the most powerful comeback. If you want more stories like this, hit subscribe, tell me where you're watching from, and share this with someone who needs to hear it.